So this is quite a remarkable story, and this is coming from the Washington Post. They're reporting that Google co-founder Sergey Brin has called the United Nations, quote, transparently anti-Semitic after a report on tech firms and Gaza. And I want to read to you the report from the Washington Post, and it's particularly, I'd say, poignant because so much of tech culture, corporate culture, feels the need to bend towards what's politically correct, what's considered ultra progressive, and calling out anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias certainly doesn't fall into that camp, which is pretty ironic given that they're meant to be standing up to hatred and bias. But that's a topic for another time. But I want to read to you the report from what Google co-founder Sergey Brin has said. He's standing up, putting his head above the parapet. And I think this is something that it shouldn't need to be significant in a sane world, but in an insane world that we're in, it's a positive development. So on Saturday, in an internal forum for employees, according to screenshots reviewed by the Washington Post and verified with a current member of the forum, the Google co-founder Sergey Brin called the UN, quote, transparently anti-Semitic. His comments came in response to a United Nations report released last month that alleged technology firms, including Google and its parent company Alphabet, had profited from, quote, the genocide carried out by Israel in Gaza by providing cloud and AI technologies to the Israeli government and military. Quote, with all due respect, throwing around the term genocide in relation to Gaza is deeply offensive to many Jewish people who have suffered actual genocides. I would also be careful citing transparently anti-Semitic organisations like the UN in relation to these issues, Brin wrote in Forum for Staff at Google DeepMind, the company's artificial intelligence division, where workers were debating the report according to the screenshots. The United Nations report was authored by its special rapporteur of the occupied Palestinian territories, Italian legal scholar Francesca Albanese, who, by the way, is a notorious anti-Semite. And by the way, it's also turned out recently that it looks like she never actually completed her legal exams to qualify as a lawyer. The US representative to the UN has asked for her removal, accusing her of anti-Semitism and bias against Israel. Critics of Israel have said its war in Gaza meets the definition of genocide, but Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has rejected those claims, saying his country is defending itself against an attempted genocide by Hamas. Indeed, he's right. The truth has been completely inverted. The Gaza Health Ministry, which does not distinguish between civilians and combatants, has said the war has killed over 57,000 Palestinians. You know, I find this really bizarre, by the way, when people say 57,000 people have died. You know, Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, said that recently. Is he not at all morally curious to know how many of those deaths have been Hamas? And does he not think it's worth specifying, when he's lamenting all the deaths, that a good portion of those deaths are Hamas terrorists? And if he knows that a portion of them are, why is he lamenting all of these figures as a number? This is where it starts to become really quite sinister. And we can't just put it down to, oh, you know, they just don't know any better. They should know better. Brin continued by saying, my comments came in response to an internal discussion that was citing a plainly biased and misleading report. He said in a statement provided by his spokesperson. He's really coming out very strong here. Google and the UN did not respond to requests for comment. Brin rarely comments in the internal forum, which is hosted on Google Chat and has nearly 2,500 members, many of them AI researchers. His accusation against the UN confused and upset some employees, according to the forum member and screenshots reviewed by the Post. Google's leadership has previously clashed with and fired workers who protested the company's dealings with Israel after its military action in Gaza, following the Hamas attacks on the country on October 7, 2023, that killed about 1,200 people and took 250 more hostage. The company moved to sell its AI tools to Israel's military after the incursion by the militant group, the Post reported in January, and I welcome that move and I'm grateful that they did. Brin immigrated to America as a child with his parents, Russian Jews who sought to escape the anti-Semitism they faced in the Soviet Union. according to the 2009 book Googled, The End of the World as We Know It by Ken Auletta. Brin and Google co-founder Larry Page left their daily roles at the company in 2019, but Brin has become involved with Google's effort to compete in AI following the launch of OpenAI's ChatGPT in late 2022. The UN report names corporations that the organization's special rapporteur Albanese says should be held accountable for Israel's military action in Gaza. It claims American tech giants have capitalized on a lucrative opportunity created by its military's expanding need for computing services and cloud storage, driven by the copious data generated by Israel's control of Gaza. The report highlights a $1.2 billion cloud computing contract that Israel awarded to Google and Amazon in 2021 called Project Nimbus, claiming that they stepped in with critical cloud and AI infrastructure after Israel's internal military cloud overloaded in the wake of the Hamas attacks. Amazon declined to comment. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Last week, the US mission to the UN called on the Secretary General of the UN to condemn Albanese's activities and remove her from her role, reiterating a request it made early this year opposing the renewal of her appointment. And again, to state, she has compared Bibi to Hitler. If she's not an anti-Semite, I don't know who is, seriously. Google has sought to publicly distance itself from Israel's national security agencies, but the Post reported in January that documents inside the company's cloud division showed staff directly helping the country's defense ministry and the IDF access AI technology after the October 7th attacks. Great, good. In February, the company dropped a pledge not to use AI technology for weapons or surveillance from its ethical guidelines for the technology around AI. I'm not sure why. If it can be used for good, let it be used for good. Anyway, the broad guidelines, first issued in 2018 after employee protests against Google's military contracts, promised to pursue responsible AI that aligns with widely accepted principles of international law and human rights. Some tech companies have cracked down on employee activism and political dissent following worker protests for doing business with the Israeli government. After Google fired some workers in 2024 for protesting its cloud contract with Israel, CEO Sundar Pichai said in a company memo that employees should not use their workplace to fight over disruptive issues or debate politics. Brin's comment on the AI forum, named GDM Hot Goss in reference to Google DeepMind, followed a message from an AI research engineer who appeared dismayed by the report's findings but noted much of Google's AI investment focused on its virtual assistant app, Gemini. The only bright spot here is that we're spending all of our time and money on Gemini and not anything more useful for genocide, screenshots show. So look, it's a positive development, I would say, to see people like Brin standing up and stating the obvious truth. Israel's not committing a genocide, it's fighting a genocidal enemy. And one of the big questions of our time is, are people prepared to stand up for the truth that they can see with their own eyes? Or are they going to give in to the fear and shame and intimidation tactics of those who seek Israel's destruction and, frankly, the West's destruction? That is the big question of our time. Will people have the courage to say the emperor's got no clothes? Will they find it within them in corporate culture, in celebrity culture, in media culture, in politics, in one's everyday workplace? And it sort of works like reaching a critical mass. If there's enough critical mass of people who feel intimidated, they win. If there's enough critical mass of people who stand up and say, no, we're not tolerating this, Israel and the truth can win. Now, before we finish, I want to show you something that I really hope you can join us in helping take JTV to reach new heights, but also engaging with premium content that we've never really delivered before at this level, and I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. Have a watch. I'm so excited to share with you something that I've been working on for a while. We've just taken JTV content to the next level. Introducing JTV Plus, a new platform streaming exclusive content created and handpicked by me. Get ready for jaw-dropping documentaries, exclusive interviews, insider access, and so much more. JTV Plus brings you captivating stories that will shock and inspire you. Stories that, honestly, I'm discovering for the first time too. From Israel to Jewish history to Judaism, it's all there. In exclusive interviews, you'll hear guests open up about things they've never shared publicly before. Plus, I'll take you behind the scenes where I get a lot more personal with you. By joining JTV Plus, you're not just joining an exclusive community, you're partnering with me to help JTV reach new heights. Just search j-tv.plus and join our exclusive community today. There's a link in the video description. I'll see you there.